Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 193. Today, our guest is Oli Gardner from Unbounce. Oli, for those who don't know you, give us just a quick synopsis of who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. I'm the co-founder of Unbounce. There's 6 of us, which is weird and awesome at the same time. Based in Vancouver, Canada, and Unbounce is a conversion platform for landing pages, overlays, and we've got a whole suite of kind of conversion tools coming out soon. Yeah, and I'm mainly a public speaker these days. I ran our marketing when we started the company, and now I kind of have the unfortunate job of traveling the world to awesome places and speaking to lots of marketers.
Oh, it sounds dreadful.
That's just horrendous.
I'd also like to introduce my co-host, Jonathan. Tell us a little bit of it.
Yeah, sure. Hi there, folks. I'm the founder of WP-Tonic. We're a WordPress support maintenance company. We're your trusted partner, aren't we, John?
Absolutely. And I'm John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design, and I provide custom WordPress development and SEO to businesses with a marketing department. So jumping right in, Oli, I want to ask, how did you first get into digital marketing?
When we started the company, actually, I mean, I've done like a million different roles, you know, from developer, designer, creative director. Then when we started the company, we needed someone to do marketing. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. It was a fairly natural progression. I mean, just prior to that, I'd been, running a usability team, interaction design, that kind of thing. So, all of the experiences that people have. So it was kind of a fairly natural transition. But I kind of learned on the job, though, all of the other things, so like paid advertising, email marketing, all of that kind of stuff. But, I built the website, did all the writing, all the design, all that kind of stuff. Using WordPress.
Excellent, excellent. So, for people who don't really know, what is the big difference between a landing page and just a ordinary page on your website, and why would you need a landing page?
Yeah, it's a very clear distinction. So your website is for organic traffic. It's for exploratory kind of experiences, and you search for something, and that's where you go. A landing page, on the other hand, is for a marketing campaign. So if you are doing any kind of marketing, so you're doing email marketing or PPC, anything like that, that should be directed to a dedicated experience specific to that ad. So that's a very targeted, relevant experience. If you send, let's say, a paid ad to your homepage, there's going to be either just a mismatch between what's going on there, or it's maybe you have multiple products or services. And if you have an ad specifically about one thing and it comes there, you're making people choose their own adventure, trying to find what you were talking about. Maybe they can't find it. Maybe they get distracted because there's too many things and they leave. So it's really about having that really targeted experience that delivers on the promise you're making in your marketing.
Well, that leads right into my next question, and that is about attention ratio. What exactly is attention ratio, and how does that relate to, say, a homepage versus a inner page versus a landing page?
Yeah, attention ratio is the ratio of the number of things you can do on a page to the number of things you should be doing. And if you're running a marketing campaign, you have one goal. So there should only be one thing that you can, one choice that you can make, one call to action. So the number of links on your page is how you kind of calculate that. So on your homepage, you may have 80 links, have lots of navigation, different promos, different features, and lots of stuff in the footer. All of those things can take someone away from where you want them to go. So, and then on an internal page on your site, it may be a bit more focused about the product that you're talking about, but again, it has all these distractions that can take people somewhere else. A landing page should have no navigation and just one thing to do. Well, actually, there are certain distractions, like interactive links, that are okay. If you have navigation on your landing page, which is internal anchor nav, so it takes you further down the page, that's great. That's actually a really great experience because it lets people go through the content on your page, lets them know what there is, and it's still a contained experience. That's actually really good. And when you have that, like a sticky nav or something that follows you down, it really increases the depth to which people scroll. They'll see more of your content, and that's a really good experience. It's all about not taking someone away from what you're trying to get them to do.
Definitely. Another thing that's really important when you're constructing a landing page is having clarity of message. What are some common mistakes that you see people make when they're put their message?
Not communicating in a way that's kind of, people get too attached to what they do, what their product does, and they think it's really easy to understand, and they don't communicate, like your headline, subhead, all of that kind of stuff. The clarity is missing because you're not communicating in a way that's accessible to your visitors, which is why, you know, we hear all the time, voice of customer is really important. Someone told me a great, Carlos Del Rio used to work with us. He had a great idea saying, ask your customer to write your headline for you, which is brilliant. But what I see most of all is, especially in software companies, is the main headline would be trying to be cute or clever. And if you take it in isolation, this is one of the key ways of testing it, take it in isolation and read it out. It doesn't make any sense. Does it explain what you do? And most people tend to put all of this, the clarity in the subhead, kind of to make up for it, but that's kind of wrong. You know, you need clarity in your main headline. I see it all the time, and if you flip them, you know, it can actually make things make a lot more sense. So really, it's about having that clarity of communication, so someone can understand what you do in the first few seconds.
So ideally, like the headline for a page should be able to stand alone and communicate the message without any additional text. Yeah,
I mean, you're going to need the rest of it to continue to sell someone on actually buying this, but yet in isolation, it should make sense, and it should match your marketing. You know, it should match the ad, it should match what you say in the email, so that people know they're in the right place. Because the moment you confuse people and it doesn't appear that they're in the right place, then there's more of a chance they're going to leave. So that's actually quite simple. I mean, if you have an email about a certain topic and you have a call to action in your email that says something very specific, just follow that through onto the headline of your landing page. That connection lets people, it confirms you're in the right place and lets them just move through the rest of the page. It's almost like if you're at an airport, when you get through security, one of the first things you do is you look on the map, where's my gate? And once you know where it is, you're like, oh, I'm comfortable now. Now I can go shopping, or I can go to the bar, do whatever, because I know where I need to go. That's kind of a calming, you know, piece of information. It's the same thing. If you get to the page and it communicates, oh yeah, this is what you're promising, you get into a more relaxed state because you feel like you've been a little bit successful. You've got somewhere that's correct for what you're doing, and then you will explore the page more, knowing that you're in the right place. I mean, some behavior changes because of technology. One way that people search these days is they'll search for something, and then because of browser technology, they'll hold their finger on the command or control key and they'll click a bunch of ads, opening pages in tabs. Then they might not even read them all. If the first one looks good, like, okay, then they go into comparison shopping mode where they look through each tab. And this is why that clarity is so important, because if they go, what is this? Oh, I don't know, close. And you're done forever. There's a good chance that you'll never go back to that because it just wasn't a good experience. And if one of them is much faster than the rest at communicating it, that's the one you'll keep open. So it's about understanding behavior now from a technology standpoint as much as anything, how people are finding you or not finding you.
No, definitely. That's the psychology of having the message, like optimizing a message. What role does design play in optimizing a landing page for conversion?
That's a great question. A lot of that comes down to a similar thing where you should be matching the visuals from your advertising onto the page. But most pages have a primary dominant image, the hero shot, or hero image. Same as the headline. If that can't communicate what you do in isolation, then it's not actually helping, right? Great way of measuring this is doing a 5-second test. You can do that with Usability Hub Online, or you can do it with your laptop or a piece of paper. You show someone for 5 seconds this thing, either just your above the fold experience or an image or a headline, hide it, then ask what does this product or service do? If people can't recall that after that, then you have a problem, and the visuals play a part in that, because they may be distracting. They might be, if you look at 90% of SaaS companies online will have that background image that is like an overhead shot of a desk with a cup of coffee and a laptop. That doesn't tell you anything about what they do. Right? It's just a waste of time. You need something that actually adds to the experience and makes it clear what's going on. So, and you can use tineye.com, put in the URL of, like, let's say you're an agency or a contractor or a consultant and you're working for a client and they have terrible stock photography as their main image, and you're trying to communicate why that's a bad thing. You can get the URL of that image, go to tineye.com, and it will search and it will tell you how many other websites are using that image. That's evidence. You can go to your client and go, 250 other websites are using the same photo. Do you really want to be that generic? And, so a lot of the time when people struggle with optimization or just trying to do better marketing, it's because they run into these roadblocks of the client or their boss that they're resistant to making change because they love what they have. And the more evidence you can bring, the easier your job's going to be.
I love something that you said there is you're bringing evidence. Say if somebody's got like the generic stock photo in that hero image, it's been 18 million times. You can really bring evidence to them. So that leads me into my next question, and that's about the importance of data in testing. What is a good sample size of testing if a landing page is working? When do you decide to change elements of the page, and how do you measure that?
That's an excellent question, because everybody who starts A/B testing, you start optimization, and you want to run a test because it's exciting. Like, oh, I think I've got a better idea than this. I can make this perform better. Everybody gets it wrong to begin with, pretty much. Hopefully, we're educating people over time not to make these mistakes, but I did it. Every optimizer I know did it at some point, where you start a test and there's always that immediate spike because the sample size is so low in the beginning that, you've got this split 50-50 between A and B. If this gets a couple of conversions, even just 3 or 4, boom, it's winning by this dramatic amount, but it's actually not the truth. It just hasn't run through enough times. And a lot of people react to that and go, oh, it's losing horribly, take it down, or it's winning, yes, success, and push it live. That's totally wrong. You need to be running it for, actually, you can't say, it might be 2, 3, 4 weeks. The thing you need to do is use a sample size calculator. Just search for that. And that will tell you how many visitors you need, how many conversions, how long you need to run it for. Because if you have a low traffic site, which is a very common problem, you probably can't be A/B testing, because if you put it in there, if you only get, let's say, 700 unique visitors a month or something, your test might take 18 years to finish to be statistically significant. In that case, you shouldn't be doing it, and you should be optimizing by other means. I think of it like this, like every company is growing, hopefully. You don't have enough traffic at the beginning, but in 6 months, perhaps you will, if you're, whatever trajectory you're on for growth. During that time, you should be doing research so that when you do have enough traffic, you have formed a strong hypothesis, you see what people are doing wrong, or, you've run some tests for clarity, like some 5-second tests, or you've watched some user session recordings to see how people are behaving. You've put some heat maps on there, use Hotjar or something like that. That's gathering all this information, data, and evidence so that when you can run a test, you are ready, so you're not blindly just testing something based on conjecture or, you think you have a better headline. I remember when I started, we'd run a headline test or a call to action test on our homepage, and we'd pick 7 different things that we thought, oh, this will be great. And we run 7 of them at the same time. That's going to take forever. So, we'd look at a low sample size and we'd think one was performing better, and we try switching it in. And at the end of the day, we found for the longest time, we couldn't beat our current headline or call to action. It didn't matter what we put in there. Perhaps because we weren't speaking to the actual benefit that we were providing to people, or because our value prop is kind of simple: build, publish, and test landing pages without IT. It's pretty simple. You don't really need, much more than that. You need to go deeper than that and really speak to the primary benefits that someone gets from using your product or service, and that comes down to defining and figuring out your ideal customer. Because when you can do that, you can design an experience for them. We know that there's a certain type of customer, there's a certain types of software they use, makes them ideal for us. So we can target our marketing, our messaging to the people who have those things. Because if we get them, they're worth more to us than other people. And the more you can focus on that, the less you're spending time, money, and marketing on those who aren't going to stay with you, have the same lifetime value. So that's a critical kind of way of doing it. Along the kind of like simple value prop thing, we did an explainer video because everybody needs an explainer video, right? I mean, like every design trend that comes along, and this is where design is dangerous and powerful when it comes to conversion. When you have a theme, WordPress is awesome. It's the fastest way. I use it for all of my personal stuff. We use it for our website and our blog. It's great because it lets you get something awesome up there quickly. One of the dangers, though, is with the themes, because theme designers are salespeople. They need to get as many people buying as possible, but they bloat their theme with all of these new design trends, which are unproven and can damage the experience and conversions. So I lost my train of thought, but that's kind of, oh yeah, so jumping on the bandwagon, we need an explainer video. I mean, they can be great. So I'm not dissing them as a concept. It's just you shouldn't have one just for the sake of having one. We did one. It was a live action with an actor who at the end of the day we all hated. And it was so horribly cheesy. And we put it on the homepage. We were thinking this is going to change everything. We're going to convert way better. We're having so much more money because of this excellent video. And it did nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, it may have made it slightly worse. But then you've spent so much time and money on this that you want it there anyway. And that's where the design and data thing kind of clashes, and you have to be willing to throw something away that's not actually helping, even if it, was something that you thought was really important. Yeah.
I love how you put that about sunk cost and sunk effort. One last question before we head to the break. It was something you said in that last segment when you were talking about knowing your target customer and knowing your target audience. You're crafting a message just for them. And in your example, it was people that use a certain type of software. You knew you could target them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people use like social proof, whether it's testimonials or reviews or some sort of referral or endorsements or whatever in landing pages. How far does that go in matching up who you're using for social proof in your pages to matching the persona of the target customer to where they're going to be like, I recognize that person or I respect that person?
Yeah, it's got to be someone that you can relate to that's relevant, that's just like you. I mean, we target agencies and in-house marketing teams. So we want social proof that someone from an agency talking about how Unbounce software is making their life better for them and the success of their customers. Then you can relate, go, well, I'm in an agency. I want that same experience. And the key to great social proof is demonstrating the transformational impact of using your product or service. If, it's the whole before after thing, that abused thing with like health products, but there's a reason for that. And you can communicate that in nicer ways using, specificity is key, having the numerical evidence in there. When we started using this, we are seeing a 3x, return on our marketing spend, blah, blah, blah. That is the kind of information you need. I have this little kind of customer interview script, which I reverse engineered a great testimonial for all of the important aspects and turned that into this survey, this interview script. So when you interview your customers with these questions, it will give you everything you need to craft that great testimonial, because it's focused on extracting the right kinds of information, the right transformational aspects. You also got hyperbole is a big problem in testimonials, where it's like, it's awesome, it's so great, it's changed my life. As soon as people start reading that, you're like, nah, I'm calling BS on that. And that's a problem, because if someone reacts that way, has immediately diminished their perception of you, and it's doing the opposite kind of thing to what you were hoping to do. So never have false testimonials. Never. And if you have a great, customer or something, but that's why you need a script to get the right information. If you just say, hey, can we get a testimonial? They might write something that's super generic and not what you need. You have to really try and extract the most important part of how it's helping them, why it makes them feel great, why they remain a customer. That's the kind of information that will help you, sell through the words of someone else.
Ideally, like a script should be like kind of a before, like Unbounce, and then, then I used it, and then after, like, here's the transformation. Yeah,
definitely. And you can also, interview people who left you if they'd be willing to do that, because then you'll get some insight as to maybe what you're doing wrong, or how they weren't your ideal customer. Because if someone leaves and that's affecting your churn, maybe you get upset about that, that's a bad thing. Not if you figure out who they are and go, they weren't our target anyway. That's okay. Let's continue to design an experience for the people who are, and be okay with that type of person leaving. Because at the end of the day, they were only going to stay a few months anyway. And that just impacts your numbers in a negative way.
No, I think you're right. I think hearing some of the negative feedback is necessary to make improvements. Mm-hmm. With that, we're going to go to our break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking more with Oli Gardner, co-founder of Unbounce. We're coming back from our break, and I'm handing the mic to Jonathan Denwood.
Thanks, John. Been really looking forward to this, Oli. I'm a bit of a fanboy. So what do you see like some of the other top people in their sector that we've been interviewing recently? To me, there seems to be a contradiction in marketing. In some ways, there seems to be a trend about automation, using bolts to gather up, utilizing artificial intelligence. And then there seems to be a trend where, you need to be more personal about your marketing, more authentic. There seems to be a contradiction. So how do you see that playing, and what are some of the trends that you see coming up in the next 18 months around landing pages and online marketing in general?
I think what's happening now is going to happen in the next 2 years is machine learning is going to be the differentiator in platforms. That's what we're working on right now. We have a predictive conversion algorithm which can, already can tell whether a page, just without seeing any traffic or anything, just looking at the words on the page, can tell whether it's going to be a good or a bad page based on looking at tens of thousands of other pages that are similar. And it's not perfect yet, but it's getting close. And that's just based on the words. We're going to be doing visual studies as well. And then we're analyzing traffic right now to see how we can combine those to make it even better. And that will get down the personalization, thing, because analyzing the information in the traffic coming in will help with that. And we have a couple of, we have a university working with us, a bunch of people there doing the kind of visual side of the study. So it's fascinating. I think that's where it's going to go. And it's not like the robots are coming, they're going to take our jobs. There's that. It's a legit fear, the Industrial Revolution, robots came in and the automation, people lost their jobs. Marketers are scared that that's going to happen now, but it's not really the case. The machine learning, artificial intelligence, it will just speed up how we get these insights, because it can make decisions much more quickly than us, and it can be constantly searching for signals and information and presenting that to you more quickly than you could find it yourself. And also surprising information. And we just put out a benchmark report, which is a study of 64,000 landing pages, 74 million interactions with those, and different industries. So the first part of it is the conversion rates per industry. So you can look at that for yourself or for your clients and go, where do you stack up? Are you, because a lot of people, a client or a boss will say, like, this is not good enough. Our conversion rate's terrible. You can look at this and go, actually, we're in the 75th percentile. So this is actually really good. And perhaps we shouldn't be optimizing this page because it's really good and it's going to be hard to make it better. Let's focus on the ones that are low performing. And other stuff in there was a study, like I said, about all the words on your page. So sentiment, emotion, word count, and reading ease, and the impact they have on conversion. Because reading ease, like the readability of this, how easy it is to understand from different grade levels.
Oh, you're back, Oli. You're back, Oli.
This room is cursed.
No. You've handled this well. So you're in mid-flow about artificial intelligence isn't going to take all our jobs and make us totally useless as marketers. It's just going to increase the speed of our flexibility, wasn't it, Oli?
Yeah, and I was talking about readability, I think, and some pages actually need a level of complexity to perform well. Some need extreme simplicity, and the data we're getting is helping us figure this stuff out more quickly. It's really interesting. And we talked about design earlier. One of the big problems, I'm doing a lot of research right now, one of the problems in marketing teams is how a designer, a marketer, and a copywriter work together. Designers are very frustrated. They're always being asked, "Oh, can you just make this look good, look pretty?" Or, and it's kind of,
can you make it pop?
Yeah. Can you make the logo bigger? And designers typically have to wait for the copy to be written before they can actually do a good job. So they're sitting around kind of working on generic templating, or just putting something together based on the competition or what they've done before, because they don't have the information they need at hand. And that's a broken process. So if we can bring data at the beginning of a project like that, a designer can start working, like say, knowing the reading ease, knowing that the word count, maybe it's going to be a short page, knowing that this has to be the positive sentiment and high on joy, low on fear, or whatever it is, because that's some of the stuff we're seeing in the data. Then they can start crafting a visual experience that communicates those emotions and things like that while they're waiting for the copy. So they're not sitting idly by, and they're crafting an experience based on actual data and available information, which is a much smarter way to work. So I think this is going to help everybody, not just the marketer. It's, for a copywriter, knowing that you should be reading ease level of, grade 4 or 5 or 6 or something, you can go to a site like readable.io and paste your text in there, and it'll tell you what level it is. It'll do some sentiment analysis, so you can actually see what you're doing. I forget something. If you search like Blue Note, IBM Watson or something, there's a emotion thing. You can speak to it, and it will, or you can type. It'll interpret what you're saying, and it will show. It has 5 emotions. And it will show waves of where you're going in terms of whether there's lots of joy or fear. I was speaking.
You're getting me worried, Oli. I know you're trying not to get me.
I've lost your audio again. What is up with this?
I just want to add to really quick. I know what you're talking about. I've actually experimented with that very recently with the Alchemy API, which is tied into Watson. There's actually a WordPress plugin called Watson Finds, which you can use to analyze your pages using that same technology. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You were saying with John about swapping the headline with the subheadline, and sometimes the subheadline, I totally agree with you, but I wonder if you can just give some tips to our audience about writing headlines, because cutting something down to its core, and that really instantaneously explains what you're trying to sell or promote is not easy, is it?
No, it's not at all. It's getting down to the benefit that someone else perceives, not what you think it is. We did some experimentation on that by doing just little surveys in the bottom corner, using Hotjar, Qualaroo, asking people what the reason they were coming to us was like, or what was most important to them. Is it building pages fast? Is it the ability to do testing? Is it to get more conversions? Blah, blah, blah. And we figured out, oh, getting more conversions is what people care about. And then we do more surveys to kind of narrow down the language. So instead of just saying our headline from the past, build, publish, and test landing pages by IT, excuse me, because that speaks to one benefit, but it's not the core one. So now we're talking about get more conversions using landing pages or things like that. If you can figure out what people really, really care about, the true value they get, then you can use that type of language. Doing those quick little surveys is a great way of understanding what people actually are looking for. Then you can just write that into your headline. You know, it's just a better way of explaining yourself.
Right, thanks for that. What about video? Because obviously you had a little go at these, which you see a lot, these explainer videos. But on the other hand, video seems just to be.
I lost you again.
All right, there we go.
I'm gonna fire someone. So you're back. I didn't hear that.
I'm back, folks. You had a slight go at these homepage videos, these explainer videos, yeah. But on the other hand, video seems to be getting more and more traction. YouTube visitors, Facebook Live, just in general, video marketing just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Would you agree with that? And how are you going to use it in your own marketing and your own platform?
Yeah, obviously video is inevitable, but that kind of thing, it's not something you should just do because everyone else is doing it. You need to do it in the right way. We've used video for shows like Page Fights we used to do, where we're critiquing landing pages. That was great. It was a lot of fun, but it didn't show our product. So it was entertaining, but so when we canceled that and we did landing page sessions, which was one of our most powerful campaigns, most successful we've ever done, it's because it was a critique, so it was useful. But it also, I jumped into the app to make the changes I was talking about. So people got to see the benefit of our product in use. That's a powerful use of video because it's actually showing why you should use the product instead of, so you need to use video for the right reasons and put the right stuff in there. Otherwise, it might just not be very helpful. And also recognize that not everyone's going to watch your video. So it's really great to look at the analytics, because if only 10 or 20 or 30% of people are actually clicking play, you need to try and encourage more people to do that, or you need to make sure your page communicates sufficiently without them seeing that. You can't just like put it there and think, oh, everyone's going to look at this, because everyone wants to see a video. But then you need to look at the data as well, from places like Wistia, showing the type of thumbnail image you use is important for how many people will click it. They did a test recently where they had a video image, I think it was in an email, but and the click-through rate was like 1.7%. Then they just put a play button on top of it, and it went up by 40% because it was a semantic design. It was designed the way for what it is. Now it looks like a video because it's got a play button. Without that, it's just an image. So those subtle little things you can do can really have an impact on making sure more people will watch your videos.
Yeah, I'm getting a trend in this interview that one of the key things I think you're saying to the audience is don't presume anything when it comes to online marketing, because you're going to be probably totally wrong. You really got to have a real open mind and test and look at things on a regular basis. Would you say that's one of the things that people tend to fail? They build it and they just leave it.
Yeah, research is the single most important part of optimization and business optimization, everything. I like to live my life through an optimization lens. MacGyvering is like the most fun thing I can ever do. You've got to solve a problem. You don't have a thing that you can use to solve it. Okay, I'm going to build the thing that I can use to solve this problem. I just built a digital photography studio in our basement, and we moved into this house, and there was a guy who'd been there for like 70 years. He's dead now, unfortunately. But he left so much stuff around. There's 2 big workbenches. There's little bits of wood everywhere. So whenever I have a problem, I'd be like, okay, I can carve something out of that to make this thing work. And, you know, if you think about optimization that way in your everyday, you'll become a better marketer. You'll be able to, you know, just do things in a better way. But yeah, that is one of the most important things, is that you're constantly exploring, trying to get more evidence.
So, Oli, what are some of the people recently that you've been watching that's been influencing some of your views and how the market's going? What are some of the influencers that you've been looking at that you think our audience should also be watching or reading online?
That's a good question. I'm on the road so much speaking that I don't pay as much attention to that kind of thing as I should. You know, I mean, I get to see some amazing people speak, so that's where I get a lot of.
Yeah, well, what's some of the speakers that you've seen recently, you know, that have impressed you, that you think that people could get some value from?
Yeah, I remember at our conference, Call to Action Conference, which is coming up in a few weeks in June in Vancouver. Matt Sweezy from Salesforce last year, he spoke at our conference. He had, what I love when you watch speakers is they'll just have these little gems that come in once in a while. He was talking about authentic marketing, and he had about, you have your customer journey, and people need different content or experiences as they go through that. He had this great example where on a lead gen landing page, instead of on the confirmation, you give them the thing they asked for, this piece of content or whatever, he would give them, because he was talking about how people become more successful if they get to kind of do it themselves, instead of you saying, you should read this or do this. If they can find their own way, it's better. So instead of the one thing on the confirmation page, you give them 3 things, 2 of them that were in line with what they were looking for at the level there. And the 3rd one was the next level of progression towards becoming a customer. So they could they go, oh, that's also interesting, and do that. They think they chose it themselves. So it kind of, they naturally get on that path. I thought it was a great little technique. I love watching Will Reynolds from Seer. He's just a great kind of human gut check. You know, when you think you're doing your marketing well, you listen to someone like that, you're like, okay, yeah, I've got to get back to doing this the right way. And I really enjoy watching him speak. It's interesting. We were searching for speakers this year. It's so hard to find people that maybe haven't been exposed very much, that have a new voice. And one of the things I did, I was speaking in Phoenix. It was my first gig of the year. It's back in February. And I'm very competitive. I always ask for the speaker ratings afterwards. And I'm very often, like 76% last year, I'm top rated. And it was my first gig of the year. It was so good. I had such a great time. I knew I'd nailed it. And I came in number 2. And I was like, who beat me? And I'm forgetting his name, something Farnsworth. He's speaking at our conference this year. I didn't see him speak, but I knew I was so good that day that if he beat me, I don't need to see a video, don't need to see anything. We're getting him at our conference regardless. And so that kind of thing that was really cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I'm gonna, as we're writing this speaking, I'm gonna see, I apologize to him for not remembering his name. Like I said, I haven't seen him speak yet.
So you have the conference. It's a lot of work running the conference. How do you see the conference really benefit the company, and how does the conference really fit in to what the business is trying to achieve? You know, because it is a lot of work, isn't it?
It is a huge amount of work, but it's of massive importance. It's one of the best. Last year, our conference was so good. It was one of the proudest moments of my career. You know, our first few were great, but this one was really exceptional. And it's really important for building your brand. I mean, for us in Vancouver, it's kind of this shining light of events in Vancouver. It's important for the city. It's important for the tech community in the city. And, you know, we'll have like an even split of half of them will be customers and half will be people who are not customers. And you might think, oh, we want 100% not customers, because that's, you have a better chance of getting more, you know, customers. But that's not the case. You want that mix of customers because they're going to sell it for you. They're going to talk about your product with these people and why they love it, why it's successful. And that's a much more powerful organic experience for people to actually become customers. But it's just, I don't know, it makes everybody feel great. You know, seeing this massive crowd and these banners outside the theater. We did the Queen Elizabeth Theater, which is a stunning, massive old theater. And it just makes everybody feel great in the company. It's something you feel proud of. And I don't know, it's really exciting. I love getting around to this time of year. Except I haven't finished my talk yet.
Don't worry, we're not going to take up much more of your time. I think also, you know, it's the same in the WordPress area, you know, WordCamp USA. It's a way of building, and it's a overused cliche now, but it's still, you still can use it with some truth. And I think in the WordPress community, the WordCamp USA does build community. Yeah. And does one of the major factors for the growth of WordPress worldwide. So I can clearly see why you run your own conference, because I think it just kind of really builds bonds with your user base, your developers, and everybody. Another thing is, you know, obviously it's been a great journey, you know, starting the company. It's not easy. It's probably one of the most hardest things you can do. I'm on my third company now. What would be some of the things that you would say to you when you were starting this journey that would have helped the process if you had known them at the beginning?
Sorry, I missed the start because it's cutting out again.
Oh, maybe you were lucky. I'm saying, you know, obviously it's a long journey. What was, if you could go back to the beginning with the experience you have now, would there be a couple tips or insights you could tell yourself that would have helped with some of the problems in the journey?
I used to say that I wouldn't change anything, you know, that I'd go back in time and kiss myself on the mouth and just like, but yeah, I think as a modern marketer, you need a mix of a couple of things to be successful. I think you need to learn how to write. A lot of people are scared of writing, but you should start from day one because that helps you communicate, and that's going to be better for you, your whole journey. Speaking. I didn't do it for years. I was terrified, but now I do it. It's the best thing I've ever done. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better communicator. It's great for your brand. And know a little bit of coding. You know, just some simple, even if it's hacking your WordPress site to make it a bit more relevant and better for the experience you want to do. Those are great skills to have because the more you can do in that way, the better. And of course, being data driven is the buzzword, but data informed is more important. I think, you know, we can't let go of our creativity, so we should use data to inform our decisions, but having that mindset early on is really important. Obviously we did because of the product we're building, so we were always very data centric, but not everybody is, and I think it's really important.
One final question, and then I'll throw it over to John to see if he's got one, is that, you know, we have a very broad audience of business owners, designers, consultants, developers, all in the digital world, with a focus on WordPress. As a slightly outsider to the WordPress community, what are some of the strengths and weaknesses that you've probably observed about WordPress?
I think the strength is that anyone can get something set up quickly. which is amazing for a startup or something. You can have a website up in a day. The danger is, like I was mentioning about some of the themes, is that you can create a bad experience accidentally or without even knowing it, because you might not be an expert in interaction design and behavior. So I think that's definitely one of the problems with it. People fall in love with having all these flashy things. And one of the worst examples is scrolljacking, where someone thought it was a great idea to try and take over the scrolling of your page, which is just, it's just absolutely the worst possible. I mean, that's something that's been, was figured out 20 years ago when the browsers were kind of invented. Don't try and change that. It's like when you try and scroll, it does it for you, and it's moving, and you're like, and you can't actually get to where you want to go. And it's so infuriating. When I see any page or site like that, I leave immediately. I'm just like, you're doing it wrong. I can't stand this. Or I record a video and I put it in a talk, which is more often than not.
Great answer, Oli. John, you got any final question before we start wrapping it up, John?
One final question. I know that you pride yourself on being an exceptional speaker and presenter in every event. You try and outshine everyone else. What are some tips that you would give to people, going out and speaking and just learning how to do that?
I would read How to Deliver a TED Talk by Jeremy Donovan. There are many out there. That's the best. It's a fantastic, he analyzed and kind of reverse engineered a little bit, I guess, a lot of TED Talks, why they're successful. And he has some great structural stuff in there. That's what I read that when I started doing this. And then I watched a TED Talk every day on my commute to work, which happened to be 18 minutes on the bus. And most TED Talks were 18 minutes. So by the time I got to work, I was like, I'm going to change the world, And I was learning, and there's one Australian guy about hand gestures and how the way you use your hands can communicate differently to the audience. Search for that one, because it's incredible. By having palms up is a more friendly approach, and people will be more receptive to you, as opposed to if you have it palms down or you're pointing and things like that. It's just a fact. These little things are, there's another, I don't know, just watching that kind of thing can really help inspire you to do the right thing and practice a lot. You have to care about the craft, about trying to get better. So that's an important aspect.
No, I love that. I love the dialogue about the hands and stuff. That's very much like how the Roman orators taught the emperors how to speak and stuff like that. So with that, we'll let everybody know how they can find you. Oli, how do we find you online, and anything that you would like us to check out?
Oli Gardner on Twitter is the best and fastest way. Usually I'm very responsive on there, so I would just say that's the best way to reach out. And I think, when's this going live? Is it going to be? It'll
be what is it,
Saturday?
Saturday?
Friday,
yeah,
Saturday.
We turn these around
That's awesome. June 25th to 27th in Vancouver, our Call to Action conference. It's going to be amazing this year. Tyler Farnsworth was the name of the guy.
Okay, we'll link all this stuff up in show notes as well.
Yeah, and search for our conversion benchmark report. The data in that's fascinating, and it can really help in some of your marketing.
Excellent. Jonathan, how do we get a hold of you? Anything you want us to check out?
I'm reasonably easy to find, folks. If you do Jonathan Denwood in search, I'm all over there. I'm on Twitter at Jonathan Denwood, on Facebook, or you could use the email jonathan@wp-tonic.com. If you send me a personal message, you'll get a personal reply. We love feedback. Give us a review on iTunes. But we love feedback from the audience about if you enjoyed this interview. I totally enjoyed it. And what some of the things you would like us to speakers, and what would you like us to discuss that would help you, wouldn't we, John?
Definitely. And you can find me at lockdowndesign.com. You can find me on Twitter. I'm lockdown_. Just follow my Facebook page, just Lockdown Design. Don't forget, in episode 194 we've got coming up, we're going to have a discussion on useful WordPress plugins. Episode 195, we're going to be talking to Bill Gadlis from Imagine. And episode 197, we're going to be talking about Amy Porterfield. So those are some episodes to check out. For the WP-Tonic, we're saying peace out and get your dose.